Howdy, 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 my name's Anashi Sasuke, and today's video needs a little bit of context. So, the other night I was watching some Unraveled videos because I finally started watching those and I suck at sleeping at the right time of evening. And I didn't know that the Sonic Bible was an actual thing. I've heard people mention it, but it wasn't until I watched this video here, Every Sonic Game is Blasphemous, that I found out that it's a legit thing. And it took all of, this dude mentioning the first thing in the Sonic Bible for me to realize that I should probably look into it. And I can also see right here that there's already a thing that says, let's read the Sonic Bibles. So that has me a little bit concerned for how long it's going to be. I was intending on doing this in one shot because I was going to do it yesterday, and then once again, since I sleep like crap, that didn't happen. I didn't sleep too well today either, but it's April Fool's Day, so I figure if I can't finish the Sonic Bible, I should at least try while it's still April the 1st. And if I don't finish, then I don't finish. But if I do finish, then I do. So, this is the PDF that I found for it, and that first thing, the Sonny the Hedgehog was born on Earth in the early 21st century in the town of Hardly, Nebraska, population 1,226. That is what made me decide to do this. So, if I finish, I also want to brainstorm how it would be if we actually had a Sonic anything that followed this Bible, depending on how crazy it gets. Because, like I said, the Unraveled video kind of skimmed the Sonic Bible. So I know a couple of things, but I'm looking forward to getting the context of the things. So, Part 1, the Sonic story. Or would this be Testament 1? Book 1? Sonny Hedgehog was born on Earth in the early 21st century in the town of Hardly, Nebraska, because it was mostly Nebraska, but just a little bit. Population 1,226. He and his mother and 5 sisters live underneath a scraggly hedge beside the local burger joint and subsist on burger scraps, milkshakes, and the occasional slug or bug that crawls their way. They're a poor but happy family. Unfortunately, Sonny's dad died when Sonny was just a few days old after falling into a gurgling, festering vat of toxic waste dumped in a nearby pond. Now, I don't know about you guys, but I feel like Nebraska, just in general, Nebraska, doesn't just have toxic waste to be dumping in ponds. But, I don't know, this was the 90s. Mama Hedgehog does her best to keep Dad's memory alive, however, regaling the kids with stories of his goodness, resourcefulness, and great agility. "He was the fastest hedge runner this town has ever seen!" she exclaimed as her family enjoyed tea and mealworms in front of a roaring fire. "I hope all of you will take after him," she said wistfully as she cast a loving eye upon Sonny. Sonny looked up at the framed photo of his father, which stood proudly on the mantel. The firelight cast strange yet comforting shadows on the earthen walls and ceiling of the burrow. All at once, the face in the picture seemed to snuffle and wink. What is the vibe of this? The beginning made it sound like they're just a normal family of hedgehogs living in a hedge, but they're also enjoying tea and mealworms in front of a roaring fire, and if they live under a hedge but have a roaring fire, y'all are probably not helping Nebraska with their toxic waste problem. "Did you see that, Mom? Dad winked at me. He's counting on me to be somebody great. Did you see, Mom? Did you see?" said Sonny, jumping up and down excitedly. "Shh, honey." It's a weird way to abbreviate that, but okay. "I'm sure that wherever he is in hedge heaven, your father's looking down on us all and sends us his love." She gathered the dinner plates and smiled gently at her son. Never had terribly good eyesight, she thought to herself, and yet there was something special about her son, something she couldn't quite put her paw on. So, he saw the picture wink, and she put it down on, his eyesight sucks, he didn't see that, but he's a good kid. That's kind of messed up. You should believe in your child, even if he is the only son. Did you name him Sonny because he was the only son? Is he the youngest? Are the sisters all older than him and they're like weird hedgehog jocks? Hedge jocks? There was something special about Sonny. Many something specials, as a matter of fact. During the first summer of his life, Sonny grew handsome and clever with thick, bushy brown quills, a headstrong personality, and a rambunctious sense of humor. His favorite trick was to frequent the bowling alley and curl up in the ball return, awaiting the grasp of an unsuspecting bowler. "Nyah!" the bowler would shriek. "Must be that darn hedgehog again," the bowler would yell, and the whole team would crack up at the practical joke. And sometimes Sonny would change his tactic. He would curl up ever so tightly and stay perfectly still as the bowler tossed him down the alley. At the last moment, right before he hit the head pin, Sonny would uncurl and scamper away, routing the bowler's perfect score. That's messed up. Although he loved playing practical jokes on people, Sonny also loved people. While making the rounds for juicy tidbits and gossip, he would drop in on the ladies of the local quilting circle to offer a convenient pin or needle from his ample portable supply. I don't know anything about quilting, but I feel like that's not how hedgehog needles work. Quills, whatever. He spent the summer frolicking in the town park with the other children, donating quills so they could scribble designs in the sandbox. Once again, pretty sure that's not how that works. I've only really come across one actual hedgehog in my life, and I'm pretty sure that that's not how they work. But again, if there's festering toxic waste in a pond that can just kill off people's family fathers and whatnot, maybe they're radioactive hedgehogs and they're not normal. Especially if he can curl up into to the point where he can be mistaken for a bowling ball. If he can be mistaken for a bowling ball, obviously there's something wrong with these hedgehogs. In time, he noticed that his playmates drew the same pattern over and over again while pointing at him. Sonny! In this fashion, over a few weeks, Sonny learned to read and write. He was some hedgehog. If he didn't know how to read or write, how did he know that it was the bowling alley? Whatever. But more important than anything else he did, Sonny ran the hedges. Every night while everyone else slept, Sonny sprinted from one end to the other of the long hedge outside the burger joint. Sometimes he ran so fast that the world rushed by at a blur. He loved the feeling. Pure exhilaration, a feeling like a dream, that he could fly up from the ground and do great things. ... One day, his dream began to come true. After downing a particularly big, greasy late dinner, the coach of Hartley's track team stepped out of the door of the burger joint and started walking towards his car. When he glanced toward the hedge, he could scarcely believe his eyes. I wondered if he had consumed one whopping beef glopper too many. Did Whoppers exist in 1991? Or did they just do that by accident? Curiosity time. Did Whoppers exist in 1991? I mean the burger. Okay, the Whopper was created in 1957. I feel like I should have heard of it sooner than Small Soldiers coming out. No, that was the rodeo burger. Anyway, in no time at all, Sonny was on the team. Oh, yeah, did I miss something? Yeah, I stopped at the glopper. A blue streak darted in and out of the long hedgerow, streaking from one end to the other. The coach drew out a stopwatch and tried to clock the object. Impossible, he muttered to himself. He's too fast to clock. This creature was the fastest runner he had ever seen. In no time at all, Sonny was on the team, competing in local, then regional track tournaments. Nobody thought this was weird. He's just a walking, talking hedgehog the size of at least a bowling ball, just chilling in a small town in Nebraska that can run too fast for a stopwatch, and they're just cool with him joining the high school track team. Okay, as the summer days lengthened, so did the line of trophies Sonic brought home to line the burrow. The whole town was proud of him. Why did the whole town already know there was a family of radioactive hedgehogs living by the burger joint? Did anyone do anything when his dad died in a lake and presumably went down like the Terminator at the end of T2? The coach began talking about Sonny as an Olympic hopeful, and then nature and his mother called. Sonny, I know you want to be a great runner, and you will be someday, but first you need to rest a bit. Don't you feel a chill in the air? It's nearly fall. Soon it will be time to... Hibernate, Mom? Gee whiz, I don't have time to hibernate. Can I keep practicing all winter? But Mom was adamant, concerned to practice all year round during his first year of life. What? His first year of life would permanently stunt Sonny's growth, she insisted. She prepared the burrow for the long winter, lining Sonny's chamber with soft, dry leaves and pine needles. The coach in Olympic stardom would have to wait until spring. All over town, the mercury shrank lower and lower, hunching down in a thick finger of silver. I thought it was talking about actual mercury because, again, radioactive town in Nebraska, but it probably means thermometers. And the hedgehog family withdrew from the light of day, safely ensconced in the burrow. Sonny read a comic book and listened to the rattle of brittle hedge branches whipped about by the wind. He felt fat and content from a meal of candied apples that the townspeople generously invited him to take home from their Halloween party. He chuckled as he remembered carrying back an entire bushel on his back, neatly skewered on his quills. Then suddenly, he had an idea. There's no reason why I have to stay here sleeping all winter. I can just tunnel over a few feet and pop up on the far edge of the hedge. Mom will never miss me, he thought, pleased at this stroke of cleverness. And so he began the tunnel. He tunneled 5, then 10 minutes, all the while thinking of the great track contest he would win in the spring. As he counted his victories, his digging became more and more enthusiastic. As he grew more and more tired. Just a short nap, he thought, and then I'll tunnel upwards. So he curled up for a brief snooze. 1 hour passed, then 1 day. Succumbing to natural instinct, Sonny drifted deep into hibernation, beyond alpha, beyond beta, beyond even delta waves. He felt peaceful and secure. The quiet was wonderful, but like most peaceful times in the 21st century, it didn't last long. Machine noises, clunk, clunk, the earth above him shook. The ground grew warm and then hot. Sonny awakened drenched in sweat and shaking, but not from fear. Everything around him was shaking. He looked up at the ceiling of his small cave and saw the earth churning. Zow! I don't know what machines make that sound, but it's probably bad. Time to clear out of here, he thought, digging fiercely to escape whatever it was that was plunging towards him. Quick, 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 he panted. I must survive! And then he felt something, a rusty pipe just large enough to squeeze through. He scrambled through the pipe, his toes clattering on the metal, after what seemed innumerable twists and turns. He saw the proverbial light at the end of the tunnel, and into an immense room. Well, look what we have here. Irenaceus Arapias. A trim, kindly mustachioed man bent over Sonny. Sonny had been called many things in his life, but never something as so strange as this. Are you alright? The man asked. Wait a minute, silly of me. Let me aim the lingua scrambler at you and see what you've got to say. Sonny was too dazed to protest as the man wheeled over an odd-looking contraption that was somehow shaped like all the letters in the alphabet mashed up together. He pointed it at Sonny. My name's not Asius, it's Sonny, and what's happening out there underground? Sonny heard himself squeaking in an accusing tone of voice. He had never spoken human before. If he's never spoken human before, how has he won medals for the track team for the high school? How has anybody communicated with him to do the track the right way? How did he know? Can he understand human but not speak it? But then, how did the coach know he wanted to... Oh, that. So sorry I disturbed you. My name... that's my Cogwinder retractable particulate core. I'm using it to dig for emeralds. Found 6, looking for the 7th. Then my work will be done, the man explained, smiling and speaking very quickly. He seemed to have a lot on his mind and few words to waste. He had already returned to an enormous control panel at the far end of the room, where red and green lights... Where did I get the word bright from? Where red and green lights danced and ribbons of paper spewed from a printer. Sonny was too amazed to say anything more. It was obvious this man was some sort of genius, or totally wacko, or perhaps both. Sonny trotted across the gleaming floor of the lab, marveling at the dazzling array of contraptions, lined up along the walls atop counters and piled high on shelves. What are you doing with all this stuff? Who are you? Sonny demanded, stamping his foot with impatience. The magnificence of the lab had not put a damper on his boldness. Curiosity! How I love curiosity! You have the makings of a top-notch scientist if you can only hold on to this admirable quality, the man proclaimed, now giving his full attention to Sonny. My name, see here, he pointed to the tag on his lapel of a starchy white lab coat, is Dr. Ovi Kintober. You can call me Dr. K, and my mission, little friend, is to save the planet from destruction. And for now, that's all you need to know, unless, of course, you can help me find the Grey Emerald. The Grey Emerald? 6 other emeralds saving the planet? During the long months of winter, with a diligence that nearly matched the intensity of Kintober's experiments, Sonny drew out some of the stories behind these seemingly disparate topics. Kintober, Sonny learned, was a brilliant neurobiologist and former team leader of the government's controversial Nuvolution research. The goal of the research was to somehow reverse the effects of accumulated centuries of pollution and restore Earth to its natural, pristine state. The Nuvolution team of biologists, physicists, botanists, and astronomers worked assiduously? You mean like trees? Towards this goal for 15 years. But that's deciduous. Then, on the verge of a breakthrough concerning the structure and behavior of free radical subatomic particles, funding for the work was cut. With their project doomed to oblivion, the scientists scattered. Many team members took lucrative positions in private industry. Others went mad with frustration. But Kintobra abhorred such resignation to one's fate. Instead of bailing out, he sabotaged the government's security system and moved the lab, lock, stock, and barrel, to a former radioactive dumping site in northern Nebraska, several miles away from Hardley. Which is probably the site that killed his father, and you're going to kill the rest of his family! He figured he had selected the perfect site. What better place to test his solution than underneath the nation's most notorious top-secret toxic wasteland? All things natural, all creatures left untouched and uncontrolled by humans, this summed up Kintobra's concept of the beautiful and the sublime. And as an extension of this passionate philosophy, besides working to save the planet, Kintobra had another goal: to rescue any poisoned or struggling animal he managed to find in the course of his excavations. Dozens of bunnies, squirrels, ducks, and even baby piglets were among the regular group of guests residing in the lab. Does Nebraska have these things? I've never really thought about wild piglets before. All were welcome to spend time gaining strength, resting, and eating Kintobra's excellent cooking. When fully recovered, they were encouraged to return to the wild. During this particularly severe winter, the animals were only too happy to remain in the lab until spring, a fact that was very good news for Sonny. Day after day, he delighted in making friends and playing games with the other animals, and even teaching several to read and write. When Kintobra had noticed Sonny's academic skills, a light flashed on above his head. "Sonny," he said, "vacation's over. A mind is a terrible thing to waste. Henceforth and forthwith, I'm making you my assistant. That is, if you accept, of course," he added. Sonny was thrilled at the prospect because, although Sonny had never known his father, Kintobra reminded him of the kind face in the photograph. The days flew by, with Sonny by Dr. K's side almost constantly. So his hibernation just straight up stopped because the earth was shaking? Okay. Sonny learned computer science, from building small portable computers to programming the mainframe. He learned about physics, the old laws, as well as a few new theories set forth by Dr. K. His curiosity was boundless and led him into every part of Kintobra's lab as he documented the results of each experiment. As the lab was vast, Sonny soon took to running at top speeds to perform all of his duties. How odd, he thought, to find himself gradually replacing dreams of Olympic glory with a dedication to science and helping the other animals. Still, he knew he'd never be a nerd like Dr. K, so partly for relaxation and partly for Dr. K's amusement, he logged in several hours a day on the supersonic treadmill that Kintobra had built for him. Slowly, Sonny built his speed to 200, 400, then 761 miles per hour, the speed of sound. I would have thought the speed of sound would be more than that. I probably already knew that, but I didn't retain it because when am I ever going to need to know the speed of sound? Then, impossibly, he crossed all known limits of acceleration and began running at the speed of light! Alarmed, Kintobra tried to slow the treadmill. Although he managed to gain control of the machine and bring his friend's velocity down slightly, a change had come over Sonny. Instead of his unexceptional grayish-brown color, most of his body had turned cobalt blue, and his quills stood straight back in a stiff mohawk. "My word!" exclaimed Kintobra, who struggled to comprehend what had just happened. "I think you've gone blue from the advanced non-concussive cobalt effect," he said, helping Sonny from the treadmill. 186,000 miles per second! You're so fast we should call you Sonic! Supersonic, even! How do you like that? He cried, dancing around the lab like a demented pixie. "Yeah, I like that! For now on, my name is Sonic! Now watch how fast I can help you get your work done!" I wasn't even aiming to imitate Sonic's voice, but it kind of happened anyway. Alright, Sonny did speed up the pace and success of Kintobra's experiments, but with all his mental and physical agility, he was unable to find the Grey Emerald, let alone understand why Kintobra was so frantic over it. What's the point of finding another emerald when we've already got 6 perfectly good ones, he wondered to himself. That very same day, he stumbled upon the answer. Running through a part of the lab that was still a bit unfamiliar, he tripped over a thick mass of wires. That's strange, he thought. Dr. K's always so tidy with his equipment. He followed the cords and cables to a small room he had never been in before. There, in the center of the room, stood a large machine comprised nearly totally of slender gold rings. The gold surfaces looked as though they had been crafted and polished with great care. "Ah, I see you found the reverse quantum bioformulator. Excellent!" said Dr. K, who had hurried over to Sonic's side. "Why didn't you tell me about this thing? And what do you use it for?" asked Sonic. He felt a bit hurt that Dr. K had kept a machine's secret from him, and fairly bristled with impatience. Did you ever ask about it?" Dr. K countered. "No, but now you are, so now you'll have your answer. But it's a long story, so let's have a bit of lunch," he suggested, pulling out a few hard-boiled eggs and muffins from a lunch bag he had stuffed in his pocket. It must be a big pocket. They pulled up chairs around the reverse quantum bioformulator and began to eat. As usual, Sonic gulped down his meal in a flash. It's probably not healthy to eat at the sound of this. Quick. He was an old pro at fast food. So, was that a pun about him being fast? Or was that a pun about him growing up on fast food? Kentober set a half-eaten egg on the counter near the machine and pulled a heavy iron key from his lab coat pocket. He walked over to a tall, lead-encased cabinet in the corner of the room, unlocked its door, and drew out a black velvet bag. "These are the emeralds I told you about, Sonic," he said, carefully placing each one on the black velvet. "They were truly incredible. Deep, brilliant colors with perfect, Tiffany-cut shapes. Each must have weighed nearly a pound." "They're perfect! Cut them myself," Kentober boasted. "They contain a microlytic copy of all the inert energy of every gross and disgusting impulse or deed done by humans since the beginning of time." He continued. "You mean they're evil?" "Yes! Evil and highly unstable, pure, chaotic energy." Kentober sighed. "I transmorphed the chaos of the world into the emeralds, using the... Now the only thing remaining to do is to stabilize them with the gray emerald. Until we find the gray emerald, we're treading on very thin ice. If the emeralds are disturbed, in theory, they will double the amount of evil in the world. Stabilized, they will rid the world of evil and pollution. That done, I plan to launch them into space where they can harm no one," he said. Sonic's eyes grew wide. So this is why Kentober was always in a rush. He was holding the fate of the world in his hands, reflected in the sparkly surfaces of 6 emeralds. Dr. K noticed the expression on Sonic's face. "Don't worry," he said. "There aren't many forces that will push these beauties over the edge. The only problem I know of, I guard against by keeping them in this lead cabinet. That problem is, of course," he didn't have to finish his sentence. "Radiation!" Sonic screamed, staring up at the computer screen on the wall. The next few moments brought unspeakable panic and confusion. The monitor glowed red with the display of the impending wave of radiation that had somehow penetrated the Earth's surface and was heading straight for the lab. Kentober scrambled to stuff the eggs back into the eggs? Emeralds back in the bag. Sonic raced to the lead cabinet and flung open its doors, but in doing so jostled the RQBF. Kentober lunged for the cabinet, lost his balance, and spilled the emeralds onto the floor. The machine turned on and cast a weird, sickly beam of light first on Dr. K, then on the emeralds, then on the half-eaten egg on the countertop. Sonic took shelter in the cabinet and reached for Kentober's arm to drag him inside. Then everything stopped. There was no explosion, no shattered bits of glass or twisted metal, just silence. Sonic awakened in the pitch black of the lead cabinet. Dr. Kentober was not inside with him. Sonic struggled to open the door and peeped out cautiously, and perhaps the only cautious act of his life. There lay Kentober sprawled across the floor of the lab, but now he looked different. Hideous. Quite round, with no muscle tone. His lab coat now stretched tight across his enormous girth. His arms were spread wide, distended by the buckets of flesh encumbering his frame. But the most alarming transformation was not in his physical person. It was in a small, significant detail that Sonic had by now mostly taken for granted. The name on Kentober's lapel pin was different. Sonic stared at it in shock. Dr. Ivo Robotnik was his dear friend's new name. Then Sonic understood everything. Moments passed. It's difficult to say how long Sonic stood staring down at his friend. He realized he had to try to rescue his animal buddies and leave the lab in a hurry, if what he thought had happened had really happened. Kentober had absorbed the evil of the Chaos Emeralds as well as the disgusting shape of the hard-boiled egg. He would awaken as the vilest, most evil personality on the face of the earth, set to strike out at anything in path. Kentober, or shall we say Robotnik, stirred. "What are you gawking at, you ugly thing? Stand still so I can rip your quills out and turn you into an armadillo bot!" Robotnik growled. Sonic jumped back and rushed out of the room to the main lab. Scampering at the speed of light, he had just enough time to grab a PC and race towards his friend's quarters. But by remote control, Robotnik had already sealed the door to the animal habitat. Sonic bolted out the back door to the lab, then remembered the RQBF. He ran back to grab as many golden rings as he could. Then Sonic scampered away at the speed of light, Robotnik's curses echoing behind him. Okay, so let's unpack this. So first off, as we just established already, Sonic's dad died from falling into a lake of radiation. He's got a mom and 5 sisters who were presumably hibernating for all of this. So they don't know that the most evil person on the face of the earth just decided he's going to turn animals into robots. They don't know they don't know he just became the most evil person on the face of the earth. unless the ground shaking would have woke them up too. Also, Sonic is only just... He's not a year old yet. All of this happened before he was even a year old! So Sonic is less than a year old, was gonna be an Olympic medalist, instead became a scientist, all in the course of like 4 or 5 months? Just because some dude at a fast food restaurant saw him running across the hedge and was like, wow, my stopwatch sucks, this guy's amazing! Never mind he couldn't speak English. So, humans can't understand him without that machine that Robotnik has, which implies no humans can understand Sonic except for Robotnik. And only if he's aiming the machine at him. The rings power the machine that make the Chaos Emeralds not chaotic anymore. But if Robotnik absorbed all of the chaos in the Chaos Emeralds, then that means the Chaos Emeralds are just rocks now that don't mean anything. And what they really need to do is take the Chaos Emeralds and Robotnik, gather as many rings as possible, slam them into that machine, and turn them back into Kintober. So it sounds like if we wanted to make a Sonic game that used any of the lore this thing established, then what we would have here is a Sonic the Hedgehog game of Sonic trying to get the Chaos Emeralds and as many rings as possible, not because if he gets hit he loses all of the rings, but because the Chaos Emeralds and the rings are the only way to save Dr. Kintober and all of his animal friends he made that winter when he was supposed to be hibernating, but his hubris led him to train for the Olympics instead. Which sounds really interesting. I mean, not really any of his sidekicks would happen unless he found them when he went into Kintober's lab, or on his way out of Kintober's lab, like if he had managed to release somebody. But at the same time, if that particular part of Nebraska was already well known to be mildly radioactive, I would imagine that his friends just kind of happen? Maybe rework it so that Amy is one of his sisters instead of someone who is, like, endlessly hounding after him to date her. But seeing as they're all supposed to be like a year old, I don't think it would really matter. So, Tails is a fox that got warped by the radiation. All the animals can already apparently talk to each other with or without the machine that Robotnik has. He's egg-shaped because the Chaos Emeralds got him and his dinner at the same time. I also like how I said the disgusting shape of the hard-boiled eggs, as if eggs are just disgusting by nature. I guess this person who wrote this Bible doesn't like eggs. But I thought by the time I got to the end of this that it would be difficult to come up with a premise for a Sonic game that uses this Bible. But it does seem like it would be pretty easy to make a game of this. It would take a while to get going. It would probably be a fairly long cutscene setting up how young he was and, like, his desire to become fast because his dad was known as being fast. Because that's the other thing. Sonic only became fast... Sonny only became fast because he was aspiring after tales that he'd been told of his father, and he only became Sonic because Kintober put him on a treadmill that never stops. So he just ran and ran and ran and ran and then broke the sound barrier and then broke the speed of light, which, no matter how impossible that is, it still happened, and the fact that it happened made Kintober go, holy crap, that's not supposed to be possible, we need to stop you now. And he did. But it made him turn blue because it was already saying that when he was running back and forth, he was running so fast it was causing a streak of blue light. So I guess it was just saying that by running at the speed of light, the streak of blue light just sort of clung to him, because I would imagine running at the speed of light kind of makes you not have a corporeal form anymore? So... Also, it sounds like the reason Sonic can run at the speed of sound is because he can only run at the speed of light when he's on that machine that gives him the ability to do so. Because the Earth isn't big enough to run at the speed of light without destroying it, but that treadmill was designed specifically for never stopping. So, he would not run at the speed of light unless he absolutely had to, because he would have no real means to do it without hurting the planet, but he's also less than a year old and probably doesn't understand that it would hurt the planet. Also, he has some amount of computer science knowledge and a laptop. And most importantly, all of this is supposed to be happening in the 20th century, so they wouldn't even really need to move it to the future because it's happening in this day and age. So just have the story of a mildly anthropomorphic hedgehog, probably because of radiation, who met this scientist by chance because he was on his way to go train to be an Olympic medalist but fell asleep because hibernation was like, hey, no, sit down. So they met, just have Sonic go on missions or probably just have him go on missions to go try to find that last emerald. And there's never really a moment of dread because up until that last thing happening, there was no reason to have any dread because he didn't even really know what the emeralds were doing, just that they were important. And also have the halfway point be when he turns into Dr. Robotnik, and then the rest of the game be about, okay, still need to find the stabilizer emerald, because with the stabilizer emerald and enough rings, I can go back in there and save Dr. Kentober and also the animals he's turning into robots. Which there would also always be the possibility of Sonic not knowing at first that the robots were the animal friends. So if they wanted to make the game a little bit grittier than they need to, they could deal with the fact that when he defeats the first few robots, probably using his super speed to dispatch them quickly, and then the robotic shells fall off and he finds out, oh god, these are my friends, and I've accidentally killed them, but no more, I'll save the rest because now I know. So then he rushes off to save the animals that got turned into robots in a safer way, and then also try to save his friend Kentober and turn him back into Kentober instead of Robotnik. I think it's a little bit of a funny touch that the change was so significant that not only did it turn him into an egg shape without changing his clothes, mind you. His clothes stayed the same, but his name tag changed. So what was the deal with the chaos energy changing him into the shape of an egg, leaving him in the outfit he was already wearing so that his body is now stretching the outfit, and then also changing his name tag, but not the clothes? Also, the way that they described his egg shape, they didn't so much say it as him being shaped like an egg. So, it says the disgusting shape of our hard-boiled egg. But it also said that he was, like, rippling with fat, and he wasn't... buckets of flesh encumbering his frame, and he's not skinny anymore. His arms spread wide. So, in the games and in the cartoons and all, he has like bone-thin legs and bone-thin arms and big egg-shaped body. But here it sounds like what actually happened is he got an egg-shaped body and his limbs changed to match. So his body is round, but his arms and legs are also fat. And it's not perfectly round, because buckets of flesh implies that he's kind of what you would expect the human body to do if it were suddenly shaped like an egg and had more flesh than it's supposed to have. So, this is not a man you would want to look at. So it's not like, oh, look at my big bushy mustache, I'll get you, Sonic, I'll get the Chaos Emerald and take over the world! Nothing like that. This sounds more along the lines of he's just evil for the sake of evil and there's nothing he can do about it without outside help. And as of right now, the only outside help he's got is Sonic. Who he himself named that because Sonic... And that would also make sense where his mom is like, Sonny, where have you been? Why didn't you hibernate? My name's Sonic now, Mom, and I have a mission to do. So yeah, it looks like there are other versions of the Sonic Bible that were updated. Like, I chose to look at the original version, but it looks like there's more versions of it. Like, I read the Hedgehog Bible, there's Draft 2, and there's this one that was updated in June 1991, so what does this one look like? How many pages is it? 16 pages. And there's also an outline. So, introduction, synopsis of the Sonic myth, trademark and copyright, logo identification, guide to characters, Sonic the Hedgehog game storyline, how to illustrate expressions, poses, Robotnik illustrate poses. Let's see. Welcome to the world of Sonic the Hedgehog. So that one wasn't so much it looks like that wasn't exactly the Bible? I guess it'll be the origin story, and the Bible would be all these other things? Let's see. Born fast, not Superman without kryptonite. They become friends. Not. I mean, they did. Installs PCs throughout the 6 zones of Mobius. Where did Mobius come from? Let's see. Let's see, the Chaos... The Chaos... Oops. Emeralds, cross that out, are thrown into space, caught into 6 psychedelic, re-energizing power mazes. The golden rings of the amazing transforming machine are scattered throughout the zones. That is almost immediately nothing like what the first Bible was. Like, Mobius just kind of came right out of nowhere, for one. Instead of it being Nebraska. And the Sonic the Hedgehog Bible 2, next page, original file. This one is 41 pages by Ruth Zoltner. This is probably why that other person's video was an hour and a half long. The copyright, Sonic Robotnik, art direction, guide to the zones, the warps of confusion. This Bible is for the exclusive use of Sega of America Inc. and its business partners. The illustrations and or graphics it contains may be used on product packaging, labeling, and or promotional materials only. So, okay, and this is written as if Sonic is the one saying it. Let's see, having Sonic peeking over a corner page here. If no one is supposed to see this but Sega, what is the point of that? Why did they write it with... So... Okay, so first off, when I started this video, I did not know there was this much more Sonic Bible stuff. I only knew about the first thing. And now I'm wondering, when people online talk about the Sonic Bible, are they talking about this document and not the first thing? Because when they're like, oh, all these things that don't do by the Sonic Bible, the movie didn't go by the Sonic Bible, but that first thing, nothing goes by the Sonic Bible, and then there's these other two things, which I assume are what people are actually referring to, and that's 57 more pages of reading. Which I'm not going to do these. If you want me to do these, I'll do these some other time, but I went into this video only thinking I had to read the first thing and react to that. So, I'll hang on to this website, and y'all can let me know if you want me to look into the rest of it. But as of right now, this was just meant to be a one-off thing that just happened to fall on the 1st of April. I did not plan that, because my ability to perceive time has been messed up for like 3 weeks. So, that being said, this has been Anachi Sasuke. This was, I guess, let's read the first part of the Sonic Bible? Let's read the Sonic origin story? I have no idea what to call this. If you liked it, a like to subscribe will be groovy. If you didn't, you don't need to do either one of those things. If you want to click the bell, you can do that as well, because that's the best way to get notifications of when I do upload things. And I'll see y'all in the next video. Later.